All right, we are live. Erev Tov, everybody. Thank you for coming out Thursday night before Pesach. Takes a lot of effort to come out here, no question. A big yetzara to stay home, or to help clean, or to prepare for Pesach. But we made it. First of all, I want to thank tonight's sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Samuel and Clara Seria, who sponsored the shiur in memory of Lucy Bensimon, Zichnai V'cha. May the words of Torah that we say this evening be L'ilui Nishmata, Tinavshat Serura, Bitzor Ahayim. Amen. I wanted to just share some ideas and thoughts about Pesach. Not to take anything away from the Parashat HaShavua, which is Parashat Tzav. We'll talk about on Shabbat, Saturday morning, B'ezrat Hashem. But I think it's important to get ourselves in the field. If you're not feeling it yet, okay, then maybe after tonight we'll feel a little bit more. One of the mitzvot that we have prior to Pesach is a mitzvah of eliminating Hametz. Tashbitu seor mibatechem. It's a commandment, a positive commandment to get rid of Hametz. Now, this commandment really stems from pretty much right after Purim until Pesach, 30 days. Usually, if you have in mind of getting rid of this Hametz, you're fulfilling this mitzvah. Now, of course, if you see Hametz in your house on Pesach, it's a different story. Okay, if it's on Yom Tov, then you cover it with a kli. If it's on Chol HaMoed, then you burn it. Again, you eliminate it. But this is the idea of eliminating Hametz. And B'ezrat Hashem, on Tuesday night, we are going to perform Bedikat Hametz, which is the first step of the Bi'ur. And we're going to search our homes. And then the next morning, we're going to actually eliminate it. We're going to burn it. We're going to throw it into the sea, into the ocean, whatever it is, down the toilet. A lot of ways to be my the Hametz. Now, Chachamim tell us that the Hametz has a different significance to it. That it stands for the Yetzer Hara. It stands for the evil inclination. It also stands for arrogance, haughtiness. And therefore, just like we have a mitzvah to eliminate the physical Hametz that we see, the cookies and the bread and the pasta, so on and so forth. But we also have the obligation, now more than ever, to eliminate the Yetzer Hara that's inside of us, the Yetzer Hara that is from us. Arrogance and the Yetzer Hara causes us to act arrogantly. Arrogance is this concept of Hametz, of leaven, of building yourself, pride, and the opposite of lowliness and humility. And that's not easy. It's not easy. Just to recognize our Yetzer Hara requires a lot of awareness. It requires a lot of work. And the question is, how do we fight it? How do we fight this Yetzer Hara? On Yom Kippur, we cry out to Hashem during our Amidah, and right at the end of the Amidah that we say on Yom Kippur, we basically say to Hashem, we don't really have what else to do. The Yetzer Hara, we sin, but the Yetzer Hara is made out of fire. Kihu me'esh v'ani basar v'dam. Yetzer Hara is something spiritual, something fiery, and I am just flesh and blood. And without your help, lo chalo, there's no way I can actually battle this inclination. So how do I fight it? How do I fight this Hametz that is involved in my life and is part of my life day in and day out? So one answer that I read is that you have to treat the Yetzer Hara constantly like it's a life and death situation. And when a person thinks that way, then he might be more successful in eliminating the Yetzer Hara. I read a story about a group of boys at a wedding, and then they're having a conversation, like while they were standing, the lobby, whatever it is. And one boy started to talk about something Lashon Hara. He started talking Lashon Hara about somebody, some person, and one of the boys in the group just didn't even respond. He just left. He left the group. went on his own way. And later on, they meet in the table. Say, hey, where'd you go? We were talking, just bolted. So he said, listen, I started hearing some Lashon Hara, and I didn't want to be a part of it, so I left. So he started making fun of him. We have a new rabbi here, new rabbi. You know, they are big fun. You know, the guy leaves. Okay, fine. So he took it a little bit, but he said, let me tell you something. So I'll tell you why I left the conversation. And he goes, I read a story of a Jew in South America who was partner with a non-Jew in a company. And they became friendly, I guess. And the non-Jew said, let's go to this park over the weekend, our families together. And we'll do a picnic in this vast park somewhere in South America. So, okay, listen, I'll go, but I'm Jewish, I'm kosher. As long as I bring the meat and I cook the meat. Yeah, sure, no problem. So, starts making the food at the barbecue. And all of a sudden, he hears some rustling from the leaves. Looks, can't figure out what it is. More rustling. Thinks of something's in the forest. Something's getting closer. And all of a sudden, they see a tiger in the forest, in the jungle, in the middle of the national parks in South America. Some sort of tiger, leopard, whatever it is. He goes, oh my God, it's a tiger. So where? The guy's like, what? Tiger? And the guy starts bolting, running back to his car. Car's a good kilometer away. Where are you going? He goes, I'm running. There's a tiger. He goes, the Jew's holding still the spatula and the tongs. He goes, well, you're going to leave me here? I'm here with you can't just leave me here. I'm getting out of here. How? You're going to leave me with the tiger? The guy said, when it's life or death, there's no such thing as friends. And he started running. And the Jew said to myself, no such thing as friends? What? And he starts running towards the car, overtakes the goy, gets into the car, and pulls out, and the goy's left over there. He said, got mauled by the tiger. The boy says, I read this story, and I had to think to myself, what a line. When it's life and death, there's no such thing as friends. I go, I'll be honest with you. I was sitting over here listening to your conversation. And I said to myself, they're starting to speak Lashon Hara. This is life and death. Mi ha'isha chafetz chaim, ohev yamim lirot tov. Someone who desires life. Nitzol Lashon Hara is refrain your mouth from speech. I'll talk about this on Pesach, Be'ezrat Hashem. During one of the drashot, we'll connect it to Pesach. But the guy said, I can't take this. So he goes, I had to leave. For me, it's life and death. No friends. You know how potent the Yetzer Hara is. It attacks in the most incredible ways. Even when you don't think that it's going to attack, it attacks. Listen to the following story. There was a Bahur, unfortunately, lost a relative, lost one of his parents. He was sitting Shiva in Yerushalayim. Now, the yeshiva that he was from was in Bnei Brak. So the students said, okay, let's go. We're going to go and visit our friend. Want to go visit our friends, to Shiva, Nachem Avelim. So they have to ask permission, as is standard. So they go to the Menahel, or the Rosh Yeshiva, Mashkiach, whatever it is. We want to go visit Moshe. He's sitting Shiva. Can we go and visit him in Yerushalayim? And the rabbi said, yeah, sure, no problem. You can go visit him here. Yeah, sure, no problem. Go ahead. Just make sure to come back to the yeshiva right when you finish right when you finish the visit. So the boys go to visit. They do the whole thing, the whole mitzvah. When they get up and they're about to leave, they go, we're already in Yerushalayim. We don't come here often. Let's go to the kotel. We have a Bnei Brak. Go to the kotel. Yeah, good idea. So they get in a cab and they go to the kotel. So they're coming down the stairs of the kotel. And as they pass through security, who do they see there? The mashgiach of the yeshiva. The rabbi who let them. Oh, Rebbe, what's going on over here? What are you doing? Like, we didn't expect to see you here. He goes, I knew it. What do you mean you knew it? He said, the moment I gave you permission to go to be Menachem Avelim, and I told you, make sure you come back to yeshiva afterwards, I said to myself, Yetzer Hara is going to get them. They're going to say to themselves that, now that we're in Yerushalayim, let's go to the kotel and not go back to the yeshiva. And then once after the kotel, you go and say, you know what? Yerushalayim has some nice restaurants. Let's go to the restaurants. And then who knows what time you're going to come back to yeshiva very late. You're going to miss it. And I said to myself, I want to prove myself right. So I'm going to go to the kotel to see if they're actually going to go to the kotel. And they went to the kotel. And you see, the Yetzer Hara, even in situations where you wouldn't expect, that's not engulfed in sin. These are yeshiva students that went to go perform a mitzvah. But now, I told you, come back to yeshiva right afterwards. They went to the kotel to delay that a little bit, to delay their Talmud Torah. You know, a person wanted to go visit his friend who was suffering from an illness. And he said to himself, okay, maybe I'll go after Arvit. So he decides after Arvit, okay, fine, I'm going to go walk. I'm going to walk to his apartment. Walks to his apartment, and he's standing in front of the apartment. He says, oh no, what do I do? He's up there. There's no elevator. 3, 4 floors. You know, my knees have been hurting me. You know, and he starts weighing in his head. Should I go visit my friend who's not feeling well? Or should I not go visit my friend who's feeling well? So he says, okay, well, let's see. Maybe he's really tired. Like it's 8 o'clock at night. You know, who wants to see somebody at 8 o'clock at night? Plus my knee's hurting me. And he starts thinking the other way. Well, listen, what happens if I don't visit him? And then I find out that on Monday he's better. That means now I lost the chance to do a mitzvah. So he's going back and forth in his head until finally it hits him. Who's talking to him right now? The Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is that inclination that is trying to convince you not to do the mitzvah, trying to waste your time to think other ways. So that's the Yetzer Hara. Chachamim tell us that actually I heard the other day that the Torah tells us ushmartem et hamatzot. We have a commandment to watch the matzot, to keep the matzot, and that's where matzah shmura comes from. Ushmartem et hamatzot. From the time of harvest, we watch the whole process. And Rashi there famously says, Al tikre matzot. Don't read the word matzot, ela mitzvot. The word matzot and mitzvot have the same letters. Meaning, watch your mitzvot. What do you mean to watch my mitzvot? How do I watch my mitzvot? How do I safeguard my mitzvot? And Rashi says, if you have an opportunity to do a mitzvah, al tachmitzena. Al tachmitzena. Don't delay. Don't make it chametz. Just like you don't delay the flour, you watch the flour in the water, the dough, and you make sure that it gets in the oven in time, and you don't delay so it becomes chametz, so too, you have an opportunity to mitzvah, you don't delay. So I heard this week that someone spoke not long ago here in Toronto, and he said, what's the pshat of tashbitu seor mibatechem? What is the pshat of eliminating the chametz? You have to eliminate the wasted time that you did in your year, in your life. All the time that you had opportunities to do things, and you didn't do it, and you let mitzvot just pass by, that's wasted time. That's your mitzvah of tashbitu seor mibatechem, of getting rid of the hametz. It's the mitzvot al tachmitzena, when you have an opportunity to do a mitzvah. Maybe that's the reason why we're instructed that on Tuesday night, B'ezrat Hashem, when we search for the hametz, the Shulchan Aruch tells us that you have to search the hametz be'or haner, with the light of a candle. And he says, not with the light of the sun, not with the light of the moon, but rather with the light of the candle. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, what's the deeper meaning of the candle? So a simple meaning is the candle is able to penetrate into small crevices and cracks. That's why you take the candle. You don't take a big torch because you don't want to light your house on fire. Okay, you put on the lights, set there, but little areas with a little candle. That's what it is. But you look at it deeper. What does the candle represent? Says Shlomo HaMelech, Kiner mitzvah v'torah or. The best way to eliminate your Yetzer Hara, the best way to check how your Yetzer Hara is affecting you is through your performance of mitzvot. Not through the sun, not when everything is going fine and dandy and life is going good and business is going good. You're not even paying attention at that time of Yetzer Hara. And not when it's dark and all you see is the moon, because when you're suffering and it's time of distress, also not a time. But when things are okay, but when you have a candle, when you perform a mitzvah, how's your kavanah to the mitzvah? How are you performing this? Are you happy when you do that? Are you Aved Hashem Besimcha? Are you having the right mindset when you pray or when you light Shabbat candles or whatever it is? That's when you have to assess your Yetzer Hara, your your evil inclination, how bad is it affecting you? How much do you really want to perform this sin? That's what the Chachamim tell us in Gemara Masechet Brachot. Gemara tells us that the Jewish people tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, say, listen, we want to do your will. But there are two things that prevent us. Seor shebe'isa v'shibud malchuyot. It's either the nations of the world that are subjugating us, shibud malchuyot, or seor shebe'isa, the Yetzer Hara. In other words, it's either the nations or us. We are affecting ourselves. There was a story of a man, Tzaddik Nistad, in Warsaw, Poland. Now, every generation has Tzaddikim Nistarim, which are people, regular guys, can't even tell, but they're behind closed doors, very, very holy men. So there was this one Tzaddik Nistad in Warsaw. You say there's 36 in every generation. And one of the Rebbes, the Cherbiner Rav, knew about this rabbi, about this Tzaddik, and he would go visit this watchmaker every day to get a bracha, whenever he can get a bracha. The watchmaker caught on that this Rebbe knows about his, secret righteousness. And he said, listen, what do you want from me? I'm just a simple watchmaker, So the Rebbe told him, listen, if you're not going to give me a bracha, give me a divrei Torah. I want to hear a divrei Torah. So Tzaddik says, no problem. The Ramah says in Shulchan Aruch that the custom is to put 10 pieces of bread when you do Bedikat Hametz. Now, why do we do that? So that, just in case you don't find any Hametz, at least it's not a bracha levatala. At least you're not making a blessing in vain. So we make sure to put Hametz around the house so that you find it. So some of the people ask, well, if you know where the Hametz pieces are, which, by the way, just on a side point, it should be that the owner of the home, the person who's doing the Bedikat, should put the pieces out. As weird as that may sound, okay, you don't want to have your little kids putting Hametz all around the house with you not knowing where it is, okay? Because if they forget, you're in trouble, okay? Anyway, so questions asked. If you know where the pieces of Hametz are, that's not called Bedikat. That's not called searching. Searching for Hametz, you know exactly where it is. So the answer is no, it's still called searching. How do I know? Because in the story of Yosef and the brothers, when Yosef was already viceroy in Egypt, and the Yosef servants planted the goblet in Binyamin's pouch, the Torah says, "Vaychapes bagadol hechel ubakaton kila vayimatzeh." Now Yosef, they started with the oldest, and they made their way down, and they found it in Binyamin. Now they already knew it was in Binyamin's pouch, but the Torah still calls it vaychapes. They were searching. So that's what he said. So now, when we do Bedikat Hametz, he said that's the time for us to search our Yetzer Hara. Now you know about your Yetzer Hara. You know, but it's still called searching. You have to search where it plays a role in your life. No one can stand here today and say, I don't have a Yetzer Hara. I don't have an inclination. What do? I look up at Hashem and I say, you gave me this Yetzer Hara, it's not my fault. But lehefech, pieces of bread were placed in your home so that you can go find it, so that you can go cleanse it from your house. And although the Yetzer Hara was given to you, it's your job to get rid of it. One of the words or translations for matzah is anshe matzutecha, those who battle with you, because you have to put a battle against the Yetzer Hara. What's the only difference between the word matzah and the word hametz? The hey and the chet. That's the only difference. And even the hey and the chet are very, very similar letters. It's just that the chet has the complete leg, while the hey is detached from the top. Meaning the only difference between hametz and matzah is one small little thing. That's what you got to root out. That even if you have a Yetzer Hara that's extremely small, but that's what you got to push. That's the hametz. That's what changes it to hametz versus matzah. That's why the bracha that we say on Tuesday night is Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam al bi'ur hametz, which means on the elimination of hametz. We're on the burning of hametz. We don't say al bedikat hametz. Why do we say what is it? Why don't we say the beracha? The question is, why don't we say the beracha? Two questions. Take that back. Question one is, why don't we say al bedikat hametz? Okay. And question number two is, the bigger one is, why am I saying bi'ur chametz when I'm not eliminating it till the next day? So Really, it's all in the same answer. That Bedikat Hametz in itself is not the mitzvah. It's part of the mitzvah of eliminating. You need to find in order to eliminate. So I can't say a bracha on just a finding because that's really, I need to eliminate it. But look at the deeper answer he gives. He gives that the obligation is to try the best that we can. You can't make a bracha on the results. I'm making the bracha now when I'm searching for it because that's all I can do is find it. I try to find it. How much I find, I'm not sure, but at least I'm going to try. And that's the idea of this concept of Hametz being our Yetzer Hara and our haughtiness as well, and all things that come along with it. And we have to do what we can to eliminate our Yetzer Hara prior to Pesach. I want to pivot to another part of the holiday, which is the number 4. The number 4. There's 4 plays a very big role in the holiday. You have the 4 cups, which correspond to the 4 expressions that are found in the Torah with regards to redemption. Ve'otzeti, ve'itzalti, ve'ga'alti, ve'lakachti. Some say it's the 4 decrees that Paro laid down on the Jewish people. He gave them taxes. He gave them back-breaking labor. He made them throw the baby boys in the Nile, and no straw to build the bricks. Those were the 4 decrees, and that's why there's 4 cups. A lot of different answers for why 4 cups. But the truth is, there's a lot of 4s. There's a lot of 4s throughout the night. You start off with 3 matzahs, but then you break the middle one into 2. So now you have 4 matzahs. Most people don't make that connection, but you have 4 matzot. You have 4 cups. We spoke about that. You have the 4 questions of Manishtana. You have the 4 sons, the Chacham, Rasha, Tam, Shenon, Shal. We're going to get to that later. You have 4 kezetim of matzah that you should eat. Some say even 5. Our brothers Ashkenazim say, Hodu Lashem Kitov, Ki L'olam Chasto, 4 times. 4 times during Hallel. Even for us that we say it once, there's also the other time when we say the whole mizmor, so we also have it 4 times. There's the 4 mothers, Arba Imahot, right? In the Echad Miodea song. Even when it came to the slavery in Egypt, we were there for 400 years. Why 400 years? So one of the answers given is because Abraham Avinu doubted the ways of Hashem when he saw he had no child. And Hashem is promising all this great stuff. And Abraham says, Bama eda ki yirashena. From what will I know that someone's going to inherit me? Like, how exactly is it going to work, God, if I don't have any children? 4 words. Bama eda ki yirashena. 4 words, 400 years. Punishment. You doubt me? Now you're going to pay for it. Your children are going to pay for it. So what's special about number 4? Truth is, it goes back all the way to Adam Harishon. Way back to the first man, where Adam Harishon ate from the tree of knowledge along with his wife. And there were 4 people that were cursed as a result of that sin. Adam, Hava, the snake, and the land. Adam now has to work for his money, to work the field, plant. Hava was cursed with childbirth pains. Before that, it would have just been very smooth. The snake now has to basically crawl, eat the dust of the earth. Before that, it was a standing creature, could talk. And lastly, the land. The land now needs to be tilled, needs to be watered. Needs to produce trees that also were food, but now it's a lot more work. It dries up. The land was also four things and people were cursed as a result of that. Not only that, the sin took place with 4 out of our 5 senses. Touch the tree, the fruit, the sight, the seeing of it, hearing, and the taste. And those 4 verbs are used in Parashat Bereshit. The only one that was not used was the smell. That's the reason why we smell besamim on Motzei Shabbat. One of the reasons is because the smell sense did not partake in the sin of Adam Harishon. Says the Chatam Sofer that you'll also find 4 different expressions that Hashem remembered the Jewish people while they were while they were suffering in Egypt. And each one connecting to the four senses that Adam HaRishon sinned with. Look what he says. He says, when you begin the night of Pesach, we have four on Kiddush, and you have 4 cups. When a person holds a glass, the cup in his right hand for Kaddish, okay, any of the 4, he uses the 4 senses to be metaken the sin. He holds the cup, number 1. He looks at the wine. Right? You have to look at the wine. That's a sight. You hear the Kiddush, then you taste the wine. So the 4 senses are being used when you're Mekadesh on the night of Pesach, and to be Mechaper, the sin of Adam HaRishon. And all the 4s that we have, according to the Chachamim, all this number 4 is to be Mechaper, what Adam HaRishon did on that fateful night on Erev Shabbat, the first ever Erev Shabbat. There's something peculiar that happens during the first 2 steps that doesn't usually happen. Let me give the following introduction. There are 4 special parashiyot. We've already finished reading these parashiyot, but let me just recap them. Shekalim is the Shabbat that's read on Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh Adar, or the Shabbat before Rosh Chodesh Adar. It talks about how every person, every male of a certain age has to give machatzita shekel. Zachor is the Shabbat before Purim, speaks about Amalek. Para is the either 2 Shabbats or the Shabbat before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, if Rosh Chodesh Nisan falls on Shabbat. And then you have Shabbat HaChodesh, which is the Shabbat before Rosh Chodesh Nisan or on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Now there's a rule. The rule is there cannot be a break between Para and HaChodesh. Whenever Shabbat Para is, guaranteed the next Shabbat is Parashat HaChodesh. Guaranteed. What does Shabbat Para represent? Para Aduma. Why we read Para Aduma? We read Para Aduma because we needed the Jewish people to bring the Korban Pesach, and some of them could have been impure because of Tumat Met. They could have been in a room with a dead body, they could have touched a dead body, dealing with a dead body. Can't bring a Korban Pesach if you're Tameh. So we have the Para Aduma, sprinkle the ashes of the red heifer, Baruch Hashem, and now you're pure and you can bring the Korban Pesach. That's why we read Para Aduma in its time. But Para Aduma represents a concept of Sur Mera, abstaining from evil. We tell a person to go and purify himself from the evil that you have. You are filled with impurity. You need to purify yourself. HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem is the concept of Va'aseh Tov. And David HaMelech says, Sur Mera Va'aseh Tov. Refrain from evil and go do good. Go do new. We are HaChodesh is being new. We are holy. And that's why Para Aduma comes before HaChodesh, Sur Mera, and then Aseh Tov. So some of the students asked, why is it on the night of Pesach the opposite? Why do we do Kadesh first and then Urhatz? Kadesh is the concept of Aseh Tov, holiness. And then Urhatz is the concept of cleaning and uprooting the evil. For the fellow ladies who might be listening, first, in order to become pure, you have to go to the mikveh, right? You got to dip in the mikveh. That's the urchatz, it's the washing, and you're uprooting the tumat nida from you, and then you're kadesh, you're holy again for the next few days. So now, why is it the opposite? It should be urchatz and then kadesh. So here's a mashal. Everybody knows that you can't go into the king's palace. Just like that. To enter the king's palace, you need a special invitation. And you also need to wear proper garments. Black tie only. Right, on the invitation. You can't come in with jeans, you can't come in with a t-shirt, certainly can't come in with sackcloth. Just remember the story with Mordechai in Megillat Esther, when he was in there. Even that wasn't even the king's court, that was just on the courtyard. And Esther is like, you gotta get him dressed. He can't stand like this. Anyways. So imagine there's a guy who about to run into the palace, and he's wearing a t-shirt, he's wearing jeans, and he said, what are you doing over here? He goes, I need to get in. He goes, you can't come in like this. He goes, no, see that guy? He's running after me. He's got an old baseball bat. He wants to beat me up. You gotta let me in, gotta let me in. Okay, go. Fine, so he lets him in, saves himself from playing after the baseball bat. Then he goes to the next guy. He's right outside the king's quarters now. He's in the courtyard, but right outside the king's quarters. And the guy says, how'd you even get in here? What are you doing? You need a tuxedo? You need a white shirt? You need a tie? And he says, listen, there's nothing to do. The guy out there has a baseball bat, and I had no choice, but I had to save myself. So, Nimshal is, of course, in reality, you have to be sur mera and then ba'aseto. You have to uproot the evil, and then you have to go and do the good. But in a situation that they're running after you, in a situation that you have to do something right now, because if not, there's not going to be another chance, then you better do it now. In Egypt, we're on the 49th level of Tumah. The 50th level was, the sword was on our neck. We were there. And we know that if we hit 50, it would have been over and done with. We would still be there right now. As hard as that for it to imagine, we'd still be there. And forever. In this situation, you can't spend time removing the evil, but you got to jump into the good. Kadesh. Right away, I'm holy. Jump into the holiness. You'll stop the Tumah immediately. But I still got all these layers of impurity on me. What do I do with that? Don't worry. You got 49 days from now, Sefirat HaOmer, until Shavuot, that you'll work on getting that off. Right now, Kadesh, you jump right in on the night of Pesach. It's a huge chesed from God that He gives us this night to jump right into the Kedusha, regardless of what state we're in. And a lot of it is because Pesach is this holiday of Ahava. Pesach is this holiday of love, and that love is so powerful that you're able to sway from the norm. You're able to deviate from what is normal and do whatever it takes, even though it might not make much sense. Keneged arba'a banim dibera Torah. The Torah spoke to 4 children: the wise, the wicked, the simple, and the eno yodea lishol, the one who doesn't know how to ask. And everyone asks a question: who is the best son? Who is the best son? I have seen arguments for all of them. Even the Rasha, I've seen an argument that even the Rasha would be the best one because he made it to the table. The fact that he made it to the table is bigger than the fact that of the other 3. But I've seen essays and people write about this stuff. Chazak, they're great ideas. And everyone's thinking right now, who is the best son? So I have another interpretation based on Rabbi Bitterman Shlita. Says, first of all, there's a fundamental difference between the Chacham and the Rasha. He says, notice how it says Echad Chacham ve'Echad Rasha. It should have said Echad Chacham, Echad Rasha, Echad Tam, Echad Shem Lo Yishod. Maze ve'Echad Rasha. So he was medayek, and he says because the Rasha not only believes in God, but he also believes in something else. Ve'Echad. There's something in addition to the Echad. Echad is God. So when you ask him, how are you going to do it? How are you going to manage your expenses? How are you going to, how are you going to work at your job? How are you going to work with your kids, so on and so forth. So he says, Hashem's going to help, but I also plan on doing this. There's always the additional thing. This person believes in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it's and something else. But the Chacham is someone is Echad Chacham. The Chacham is correlated solely with Echad. All he has is one. He trusts in Hashem, and that's it. But the Rasha is somebody else. If you notice, says the Maram Prague, unbelievable. He says that the entire Korban Pesach and all of the branches connected to the Korban Pesach, all of the mitzvot connected, have to do with Achdut. They have to do with concept of oneness. Rashi says you have to roast it all together. The head together with its feet, with its innards, it's one. Because a korban is not proper to be divided into sections. If it's cut into sections, it's not one. It has to be eaten in one house. It's not like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take the shoulder, you're going to take the shank, you're going to take the liver, then we're going to separate it. No, in one house. And if it means you invite people to that one house, you invite people to that one house. Tamim ben shana. It has to be 1 year old. 1 year. If it's 2 years old, it's not one anymore. It has to be a seh. Seh is a goat or a sheep, and not an egel, not a calf. Why? Because a seh, because of its delicate nature, It's totally one. When a sheep injures one limb, the whole body feels it. But the calf and the cow are bulls are much bigger animals. You don't feel it as much. So when one of the limbs are injured, the sheep feels the pain. You cannot eat it cooked. It has to be roasted. You ever cook something in a fire on a stove in liquid? It won't take long till it all falls apart on you. But when it's roasted on a fire, directly on the fire, it stays intact. What's the idea? Oh, one more. Etzem lo tishberu bo. You can't even break a bone. You get to the bone, you can't even break a bone. The Jewish nation has this mitzvah of Korban Pesach because Hashem is one. He chose a nation which is a nation of one. And the Korban Pesach, the lesson of Korban Pesach is echad. We turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu only alone, and that's it. We call the night the Seder. We'll get back to the four sons soon. We call the night of the Seder. And we call it Seder because officially there's an order. Kadesh, Urchat, Karpas, Yahat, and we follow this order. And if you think about it, we don't really know how this order works. We speak about these miracles that took place in the time of Mitzrayim, different than the miracles that we experience now. But we do know one thing for sure, is that everything that happens has hashgacha pratit. And there's no difference between the miraculous times and the natural times and the times of today. They're both expressions of order. Hashem had his order in the time of Egypt, and he has his order now in our times as well. Matzot, the round, that symbolizes an order. And then all of a sudden comes Yachatz, and we break that order. We break it in half. We break the round matzah to signify that things just don't run on their own cycle. They run through Hashem's cycle, not the way that you think you want it to be. One of the ani ma'amins is we believe she'Hakadosh Baruch Hu asa ve'oseh ve'yaseh lekol ha'ma'asim. That Hakadosh Baruch Hu did, does, and will do all deeds. The top matzah is what he did. The bottom matzah is what he will do, and the middle matzah is what he's doing right now. When you ask people about past history, they're cool with it. Yeah, sure. Okay. Sure, God. Chazar Baruch. What can I do about it? What's going to be in the future? Also, I have faith. But it's the present that we have trouble understanding. It's what happens now where we struggle with our faith. And that's why it's the middle matzah that we break. That's the one that requires the wake up. That one's required that says, even when things seem broken, I understand that it is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's a big section in the Haggadah. I hate to call it the boring section, but it's a section that we go through all the Pesukim. Now, I should say, on the record, that those Pesukim are actually probably the most important part of the Haggadah. The Manishtana is the most important thing, and what follows is the answer through these Pesukim. The drashot that they're making from these pesukim. So we have Vayareu otanu memitzrayim kemo sheneemar, Vayishma Hashem et kolenu kemo sheneemar, Vayotzi Hashem kemo sheneemar. And we're like, God took us out, like it says here, this and this and this. Hashem took us out with an outstretched arm, like it says. Says the Chidush Harim, a beautiful Chidush. He says, read it the following: the Mitzrim affected us kemo sheneemar because HaKadosh Baruch Hu decreed it so. We went out of Mitzrayim, kemo sheneemar, because that's how Kadosh Baruch Hu decreed it so. Everything that happens is Hashem's decree. The hardship, the salvation, the good thing, kemo sheneemar. Torah tells us that Hashem took us out during the spring months, bechodesh ha'aviv. Rashi says, don't we know when they left Mitzrayim? And he says, look at the chesed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was doing for Jewish people. He redeemed you when the weather was comfortable. You know what it is to travel in Egypt in the desert during the middle of summer? Brutal. There's still no ananei kavod protecting from the heat, right? It wasn't there yet. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, now, because it seems on. Why would the Torah make mention that they left in Bechodesh Aviv? The joy was so great. Do we even care? Let me give you an example. Imagine you meet a Holocaust survivor, and he's telling you his whole story, how he survived. How he was thrown on the train, and he was on his way to Auschwitz, and somehow it's a crazy story how he got up and he survived. And you hear the story and you go to him, tell me, was it raining outside? guy looks at you and goes, I just told you this story. You asked me about the weather. What do you care about the weather? Look, I survived. That's the same question that we can ask here. What do I care that it was springtime? The Jewish people left Egypt after 210 years. The answer is no. Nothing is insignificant. It's part of the Seder. And therefore, the same thing is in life. Life is all about things that are sometimes the smallest details are predestined and planned by Hakadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the idea that we have to keep on reminding ourselves that everything is from the good. Everything is from the good. And sometimes it comes from this once a story brought down of Tamil Chacham and his family. His wife wasn't well. His wife suffered. She was mentally unstable. She wasn't emotionally well. And Shulchan Aruch tells us your table has to be ready. The time you come home for Kiddush, you start Kiddush right away. And this Rebbe invited some of his students, and lo and behold, they come home from Arvit. Nothing is ready. there's still things from the day. The wife is somewhere in the kitchen, the kids running around. And then finally, the students are looking around like, what is going on here? The host says, in this house, we celebrate true freedom. We celebrate true freedom. In many homes, the tables are set, the children are sitting with Derech Eretz, and then one thing happens that throws everything out of order, and they don't even know what to do anymore. But this is the way we are. And as we try the best that we can, and if this is what it is, this is what it is. I can guarantee you every Seder is going to have some wine spilled on the table, some wine spilled on your shirt, okay? Something is going to break, some child is going to come and knock something over, Imatz is going to break, everyone's going to, this is what it is. Because this is part of it. It's the most unseder part of the Seder is what happens in the middle of things. And therefore, maybe, just maybe, the biggest or the greatest son is She'eino Yodea Lish'al, based on what we're saying. The son who doesn't know how to ask. The son who doesn't ask questions. He accepts everything. I'm cool. Yeah, this is my table. This is what I have. Oh, someone just spilled wine all over my brand new suit. And I just paid $500, $1,000 for a suit. And it's the first time I wanted to wear it. Okay, I'm not going to ask questions because this is what it was supposed to be. This is the plan that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had. By Hashem's decree, we went down to Egypt. Everything that happens in our life is determined and decided through HaKadosh Baruch Hu and what's best. Sometimes we look at the night of the Seder, and I don't think it's not given the proper respect that it should be given. The night of the Seder is one of the holiest nights of the year. I already mentioned earlier that we are like angels on this night. We're like malachim, and often a lot of the preparation gets involved and intrudes on the specialty of this evening. And sometimes we get to the table and half the people are sleeping, or they're just not with it, and they're just totally out of it, and it's a big chaval. And it's come to the point that a lot of people, I hate to say this, but they dislike the holiday. And they hear about Pesach coming after Purim. Oh no, don't get me started with Pesach. I can't believe it's coming. No, I'm not ready for this. What do you mean? Like, I know everybody puts in a different amount of work, and it's part of it. Like we spoke about, there's this concept of working and tashbitu, and yes, all right, I get it. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to see that from us. But that it shouldn't remove from the holiness of the night. And I think people that dread the holiday are missing the whole point. I really think that they're missing the whole point. It is the Chag of all Chagim. It is the start of the holiday season. Pesach is the first holiday of the year, being that Nisan is the first month of the year. And we can't go into this night saying to ourselves, like, I can't wait for this to be over. I'm too tired. This is too much. It's too much stress. You're thinking that, then you got it all wrong. You got to go back. You got to go back to grade school, and you got to learn why we're celebrating this. And again, I don't want to take away anything from all the hard work that a lot of people put into this holiday, and Chazaku Baruch, they deserve a lot of credit. But you can't come in there with that attitude. If you come in there with that attitude, then you're ruining the whole night. You ruin the whole night. As tired as I am, as tired as everybody is, you shouldn't be ripping through the Hallel. You shouldn't be ripping through. You know how many people just skip Nirtzah? They just skip it as if it's like, okay, no, they just added it there just in case. No. Nirtzah is one of those 15 steps. How you just skip Nirtzah? Like it's part of the singing. I tell people all the time, you're tired. I get it. Finish the Seder. You don't want to wait till the Baal Habayit if he's taking his time, but that doesn't exempt you from finishing the Seder. Even the women are chayavot and all the mitzvot of the Seder on the night of Pesach. You have to finish it. My husband's taking too long. No problem. Pour yourself a glass of wine, a glass of grape juice. Say Bedikat Mazon. Read a little bit of the Hallel, whatever it is that you can. Sing a couple of songs. It doesn't have to be the ones in the Haggadah. Sing a couple of songs and end off your night on a high note. Was it falling asleep in the middle of the meal? You don't do maror, you don't do korech, you don't do afikoman, right? And you don't do birkat hamazon. Well, what's happening here? Okay, maror korech you did, but you don't do afikoman and become unacceptable. Now everyone each to their own level. Personally, I get to Hallel, and I'm in cloud 9. A lot of the kids are already sleeping by that or this. I'm holding the glass. I'm singing like it's like I'm in the middle of the shul. Right? But that's me. But every person has to find that love and the uniqueness of the holiday of Pesach. And it can't just be like, no, I can't wait for this to be over. Because before you know it, it is over. And then you look back and like, that's it. It's all done. Everyone experienced that same void the moment the Pesach is over. I can't believe it's over. Now I have to wait another year to go get Pesach. Right? And it's something that we should all work on. And B'ezrat Hashem, we should find the strength. We should find the kochot, the physical strength and the emotional strength, the spiritual strength to realize how unique, how special, how sacred this Chag is. We should enter the Chag with simcha, moadim v'simcha, chagim uzmanim lesason. These are times of sason, of joy, and it shouldn't be one of sorrow and pain and tiredness. That's not what it's about. B'ezrat Hashem, we should find that koach, and we should make the holiday special, unique. So B'ezrat Hashem, next year, we will bring the Korban Pesach in Yerushalayim with all of Klal Yisrael. Amen. Have a wonderful night.